Okay, so this caught my eye, and because it caught my eye, it was something that I'm actually really happy. I traded a knife for a knife to a good buddy who we're like, collectors, and we do this kind of like we do like baseball card trading. We just trade blades, and if I see something that I like, I do whatever I can to trade it, and so on and so forth. That's just kind of what we do. Anyways, let's get into it, guys. Let's talk blades, because that's what we're into. Today I have for you guys knives. Made better. I'm not entirely sure about... You know what? I'm not going to go into that. I like their knives. I'm not going to say anything bad about it, because there's nothing really bad to say about their knives. Not a lot of people really like the fact that knives are a Chinese-based company. It doesn't bother me very much. If you make good knives, I don't care what company you are, I'm going to have respect for you. Unless you make fakes, of actual different other company knives. Like if you make fake Benchmades or fake Spydercos, then yeah, I'm not going to like you very much, because that's just not right. Not only that, but you're ripping people off and you're stealing from the actual company. At least in my opinion, you're not supporting, for a good cause. You're just ripping people off. I don't appreciate that. That's a whole nother topic for another day. I will get into that, because there's a lot of fakes out there. So why not be like Knives? Because there's a lot of Chinese companies that do a lot of knockoff Spydercos and Benchmades. Why not be like Knives? Why can't you just be like them? If you guys know you make some decent knives that are fake, turn them into your own stuff, dude. I mean, what the hell? Sorry about that. I was just a little frustrated. Anyways, Knives, and the model is the Angst. And this is the stuff that it comes with. Obviously, you get the awesome tactical stickers. No, they're not actually tactical stickers. I just call them that just to be stupid. So I really do appreciate that they add stickers to this. I already have these, so I just have spares, and that's always good to have. I really love that dragon one. That one's pretty sick. And of course, someone said it was an owl. I think it's a hawk, but hey, whatever. It's cool either way. I enjoy them. Of course, you get your reading material. And what I was told is that this knife does come in a white box with a black kind of design to it and lettering. Got your warranty information, all your stuff that you need to know on how to take care of the knife, and what happens if you need to bring it in for any type of maintenance, whatnot. So there's that. You get a really decent cleaning cloth, and this thing is relatively huge in my opinion. It's a decent size cleaning cloth, and you can use this for any knife, and I that is something that is always greatly appreciated with any knife company. When you guys add a knife cloth, that just makes everything so much better, because you never know. Someone could have lost their knife cloth, or maybe they're using their shirt and they're just cutting up their shirts, and having a knife cloth in your knife kind of box or bag, that's always a plus. Thank you. Love that. Keep doing it. More knife companies should do that. I believe it. It should be good. So, relatively huge case for such a little knife. And what I mean by that is the Angst is not as big as you would expect it to be, but it's not a bad size. I frankly like the size. I think the size is, it's nice for what it is. Make it or break it, I mean, that just depends on the person. If you feel that you need a bigger knife or a smaller knife, this might not be the knife for you, but for me, because I am a bigger knife kind of guy, this doesn't seem to bother me too much. And I say that because at first I was like, oh man, it's kind of small, but then I kind of got around to the idea of it being a normal EDC that doesn't necessarily need to be a 4-inch blade. So with that, this little guy is kind of a nice little touch to any knife collection, at least in my opinion. So this features a CPM S35VN steel. Of course, you can barely see that right there. If I can get it in nice and close, if my camera can focus. If you see that little smudge right there, right underneath the Lundquist design right here, right there where my thumb is, it says S35VN. And the reason why I had to say, there it is, you can see it a little bit better. Kind of see it, S35VN on there. This is probably the smallest S35VN blade I have. So it's nice. It's really nice. It's got the pokey stabby kind of thing to it, but I gotta tell you, it's ridiculously light. I mean, this thing is light as a feather. Really, really light. And it seems to be durable. And it's running on ball bearings on the pivot. It's super smooth. Now, there's only one or maybe two bad things I'd have to say about this knife, other than the obvious size. If it's not, if it's too small for you, which is probably the most obvious telltale thing of whatever could be the problem of what you might like or might not like about this knife at first glance. This is G10, so you have G10 handle scales. I think there's a little bit of a steel liner in there. Someone said it was aluminum. I believe it's steel. It's a very thin piece of steel, but it's on the locking mechanism right there. You see that ball detent right there. Ooh, my thumb just touched the blade. I felt that. So it's a pretty decent, setup. Very simple. On one side, it just seems like it's for the lock. The locking mechanism has got to be that little steel piece right there. But there doesn't really seem to be liners. So I am corrected. Corrected myself. So you got this little, backspacer right here is also G10. So it's a very, very light construction overall. I mean, really light. And I've seen smaller knives that weigh a lot more than this, and this is quite impressive. Now it comes in at $140, at least on Blade HQ, anyways. It has a price tag MSRP of $165, so it's a hefty price for such a little dagger. And it's a dagger styled knife. It's only sharpened on one side, on this side right here, on the side that goes into, as it folds down. There's a false side on this side right here, on the spine. This is completely safe. I've heard of people taking this knife and putting another edge on it and sharpening it true, so that way you guys can have a double-edged dagger, but you got to be really careful on how you close it. So it's not bad. It really isn't. It's not really what I want to do with this. If it was designed for that, then fine, but it's not, not with this anyways. So the designer behind this knife is Justin Lundquist. I hope I said that right. Lundquist. You see his insignia right there. Lundquist. Justin Lundquist. I'm not too familiar with his work, other than what's already in my hand. But I gotta tell you, I'm really impressed with this one. It's really, really nice. The presentation to it is very fantastic. Now, here are the things that I don't like about this knife. That kind of, well, it's not really I don't like, I just don't know how to really, really explain it. I'll get into size comparisons here in a minute, but I want you guys to kind of understand what you're buying. It's a small knife, obviously. I have normal size hands. I don't have large hands, but if you do have large hands, this is going to be very small. So if you want to invest $140 in something like this, then that is your choice. I particularly find it fine. It doesn't bother me. I still get a whole hand on there. I get all 4 fingers in there, and what's really good is that there's jimping right here on both sides of the quillions right here, the little guards, if you will. So if you hold it in the saber grip, it naturally goes up to these 2 points, and it feels really secure. So it feels fine. Even in hammer grip, it's okay. It's fine. It is small, all right? So here we go. I'm going to bust out a knife in comparison to, and this is the Cold Steel Tylite, because this is another dagger-like kind of blade. So that's a 4-inch blade right here. So the cold steel has a 4-inch blade. I'm going to move these out of the way so don't get too distracted. Okay. And then, of course, the handle's a lot bigger on this knife. So if I put them side by side, you got a little bit right here, maybe half an inch of handle and about an inch of blade that's kind of missing there. So, and like I said, it all depends on the person. If this kind of thing bothers you, then it might not be the knife for you. But it doesn't bother me because it actually feels fine. It's a lot lighter. It's not as bulky. Yeah, it's not as slim in the pocket, but it sits fine. And then here it is with another, up against another knife. This is the CRKT CEO. All right. This is also a really relatively small knife. So it's about the same, almost the same blade length with the CEO. The handle's obviously going to be a little bit longer on the CEO compared to the Angst. But it's very, very comparable. So you're missing maybe just a little bit, but it's very, very similar. So down to the things that I don't like about this knife. Finally, after I kept on announcing it so many times. If you look on the blade, you see that? I don't know if you guys can see it. I know I see it all the time. But if you hold the handle straight and true, and then you go down, the blade is slightly this way. So I thought that was just kind of an optical illusion. So I went ahead and flipped it around like this, and you can see it there too. Now the blade is a little bit more this way. So, of course, there's a lot of ways that I can fix this. I can tighten the pivot. I can do that. Or I can, if worse comes to worse, I can send it into the factory and get a replacement. Or let them know, hey, this isn't right. But the thing about this knife is that it's got a solid lockup. It seems fine. It still operates. Yeah, it's a little bit that way with the knife. The blade is kind of, it's not straight with the handle. It just seems a little bit off, but it's by a hair, so it's not exactly a problem. But it does kind of bother me. I have that on a couple of other knives too, but I guess it's all about the pivot. If you tighten the pivot a little bit, it'll tighten or it'll straighten out the blade. In most cases, that's just what it is and what it boils down to, so you don't have to worry too much. But sometimes in rare cases, that's not the case. You gotta really find out what's making that. If there was a flaw or defect in the manufacturing, then sometimes you gotta send it in. But I'm hoping that's what it is. I haven't messed with it since I got it. It's brand new. And here's another thing that bothers me about this knife. Now, as much as I like this knife, here is the pocket clip. Now, you guys see that? That's very small. Very, very small. And it's got like a pen cap type of clip to it. That's why I like to call it, because that's basically kind of what it is. Now, this kind of thing, it bothers me because of, well, this is very thin metal right here. If this gets caught on anything and it bends, heaven forbid, I don't know if this is titanium. I want to say it's steel. Someone told me that this is a titanium pocket clip, but I'm not entirely sure. Either way, if it bends, I'm going to have to bend it back and hope that it doesn't fall apart. The integrity of the metal doesn't give out. Also, it's not exactly deep carry because you still got a little bit of knife sticking out of your pocket, but it's not that bad. It's better than having, that much stick out. So it's relatively deep. Not 100%. I want to say about 95%. You still got that little portion. Doesn't bother me. What does is that you cannot tighten this pocket clip or remove it or just, do anything with it. You would actually have to take this knife apart and go from the back right here of this handle scale in order to get to the screw, or screws, I should say. You see them right there. for this pocket clip. Now, the only reason why that bothers me is because if, heaven forbid, this gets caught on anything and bends, you would have to do your own repair on this or send it into the factory if it comes down to it. But I like to do my own repairs on my own knives. It saves me time, it saves me money, saves me frustration when I know how to do it and I know how to do it right. You would have to take this apart, take this piece off in order to get to the pocket clip. So they didn't intend this to be taken apart, obviously, because they would have made it a little bit easier to get to. But all in all, it's very sleek. It's very, very nice in appearance and functionality. You even have the Wii logo on there. It's supposed to be, those 6 lines are supposed to be a W and an E for those who don't understand or don't know. So this is a very attractive knife. They have 3 colors that I know of. This one, they have an all black version. So it's like a black blade and a darker handle. And they have one that's got the same blade, but the handle is black and OD green, I believe. So I chose this one because it's the middle one. It's not too dark. It's not too green. So I just wanted something a little bit better. And my buddy actually had all 3. So he's like, yeah, man. And this is one of the reasons how I got this one is because he was willing to trade. He had all 3. He didn't know which one he wanted. So he's like, yeah, I got all 3. I was like, man, why do you have 3 of them? He's a bigger, huger collector than me. So I went ahead and asked him. I was like, yeah, man, are you willing to let go of this? And he's like, that's probably one of the ones I really like because I like the color. And he goes, I like the OD green better. So he went ahead and kept that, and I chose this one. So I asked him, I was like, is there any other colors? And he said, no. Apparently there's a blue one floating around somewhere, but I don't know how true that is. So this is overall a nice knife. It very much reminds me of the CEO because of how light it is. Because the CEO is pretty light. And because of just how easy it is to open. So we'll go ahead and get into the specs of it now, because I just wanted to say that. I was kind of thinking about that. I know this video is getting a little bit long. It's about to hit 20 minutes. Forgive me on that. That was just the thing about this knife. Oh, it's coming out to 1.93 ounces on this knife. We'll get into the blade length. You're looking at a 3-inch blade with an overall 7 inches. And the handle length is 4 inches. It's pretty decent size. Good for EDC? Well, I guess that depends on you. Alright, and then the blade comes in at a whopping 2.0 millimeters. So this thing is relatively thin on the blade. So that's also might be a make it or break it for you. If you're a hard user, you got to worry about the tip, because you could snap the tip on something this thin. And the blade, obviously being this thin overall, could also affect what you do as far as how you intend to use it. This could be the make it or break it of this knife. So this is a nice knife. Could this be a dress knife? Sure. This is very, very sleek looking and very, very, professional looking. Yeah, okay. You could. Or it could just be a normal EDC for somebody who doesn't really intend to beat up their knives. So, go ahead and show you how sharp it is. Yes, I still got some leftover paper that I've been cutting. Now, because this was previously owned by someone else, he doesn't really use his knives as much. So yeah, this thing is relatively sharp. Now, I wouldn't say it's hair-popping sharp, because I can tell that the paper is fraying in certain areas where I've cut. But just to make sure, I got some paracord right here, so we can check and see how sharp it actually is. Alright, so that took a couple of times just to cut through that. Now, is it the sharpest? Not necessarily, but it does have a very functional edge. And with that, I can say that this knife is something that I would enjoy as an EDC. I would very much be very concerned about the tip because that's very, very thin right there. So would I sharpen this aside? No, I wouldn't. I'd keep it the way it is. Heaven forbid somebody, like a cop or somebody, tries to, confront you about it. You want to keep it as simple as possible. You don't want to make it more complicated than it needs to be. I really do enjoy that fuller that goes down the spine or down the middle of the blade. I think that's a nice touch. It makes the blade a little bit more attractive in my opinion. But this thing's already attractive. It's very, very attractive. So, I don't know. That's just me. Anyways, sorry for the review being 20 minutes long. I'm going to go ahead and end it here before I start rambling on about my personal thoughts on this knife. I'm going to carry it for a little bit and see how I feel about it later on. So go ahead and slash that like button, stab that subscribe. And as always, everybody, be kind, be safe, please carry responsibly, and I'll see you guys in the next video.